Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this one we're talking about motors. Motors are essentially the core of the gun in a lot of aspects, especially in regards to the AEG. Without the motor, the gears can't function, the piston won't move, that type of thing. So essentially what happens is player pulls the trigger, the motor spools up, it pulls the piston back against the spring, releases, and the compressed air propels the BB out. Now, there is a few different ways to look at this, especially for motors in regards to upgrading your replica. So first off, you need to understand what replica you have and what type of motor it takes. So for example, most generic M4 platforms and most platforms based off M4 gearboxes and that type of thing will take a long shaft. Things with AK bases like the AK-47, the 74, G36 I think, or G3, there's a few others out there, but they take the short shaft version. Essentially, it'll be a stubbier version of this. The UG Strider is a good example, actually. It's a short shaft motor as well. I think the M249 is as well. I think. Keyword there. Best to look that up and double check. Don't quote me on that one. So, for example, getting into the next part of this, I should say for example, getting into the next part of it, there's three different types of motors. You get your high speed, your high torque, and your balanced. So the first one is the balanced motors. The balanced motors are your generic, general purpose AEG motors. They offer decent RPM and TPA. So essentially the RPM is rotations per minute of the actual motor itself, and the TPA is rotations of the piston. Well, sorry, not piston, the pinion. So up here. So essentially a balanced motor will work for most replicas, and it's what comes with most replicas out of the box. You'll usually find them sitting about 18k to 24k RPM and about 10 to 16 TPA. So this essentially means it'll be able to do most roles specifically well, assault, that type of thing. They're not the best for high rates of fire. You'll most likely get 20 to 25 from swapping up gear ratios, that type of thing, or depending if you run a 7.4 or 11.1 LiPo. But they're an excellent generic motor. They can do a bit of everything and anything. You then get your high torque motors. So they'll have maybe 16k RPM, but 24 TPA. These are far better for pulling heavier springs and DMRs. So essentially, the higher the TPA, the quicker it gets up to its max speed. So it allows for a far snappier trigger response, far snappier fire rate essentially, so it responds a lot quicker and it can pull a far heavier spring. You then get your high speed motors. Your high speed motors are usually for slightly lower FPS because it's going at such a high speed it struggles to pull back heavier springs. So usually you get about 1 joule, 1.2 max realistically speaking from real high speed builds going 30, 36, 35, 40 RPS. Usually these builds are for, their high-speed motors are just purely for SMGs or high rates of fire, and M4s or just stupidity in general. For example, I have a SMG that's, I think it's got a 28k high-speed, 28k RPM high-speed motor, and it's at 36 RPS. So essentially your high-speed motors are purely for rate of fire, as they're best paired with lighter springs and all that type of stuff. High torque motors, heavier springs, and balanced motors are good for general purpose. So, why would you upgrade your motor? The first big thing is efficiency. Most generic motors out of the box have quite poor efficiency, and they can drain the battery quite fast. So you might go for something like a Neuropol Rocket. At least I think it's Neuropol that make them, or something like a Warhead. Or you might just simply go for like a Tornado ADV or one of the many other brands of motors out there. So that's your first big one. You want the increased efficiency of your battery. You want to add a MOSFET, for example. So most people, if you're upgrading your motor, will add a MOSFET in. That'll allow you to do a lot of fancier things like add active braking, control the fire rate, and increase the life expectancy of other parts in your replica. You may also upgrade it to handle heavier duty springs, especially if you're building a DMR in the mainland over in England. So you may need a far stronger motor to be able to generate that power and FPS from the piston release, where a balanced motor can't always achieve that. So, getting into more advanced stuff, the brushless motor is one of the most recent inventions and additions to the motor pool. The most common ones are more likely the Tornado ADV. Is it ADV? It's the ADV, I can't remember them off the top of my head. I've got a couple of them, but I can't remember the full name off the top of my head. And the Warhead Industries. They're probably the most common brushless motors out there. You also have the T1385 or 2385 or something like that. But they're the most common ones. They have a lot less heat buildup, longer lifespans, and far smoother operations. However, they do have a lot of other issues. So, not all brushless motors will be compatible with ETUs and MOSFETs. Some of them will, such as in the Gate series, I believe Perons as well, but some other more basic ones may not be compatible with it due to the fact that they can generate such high rates of fire. For example, the brushless motor in one of my DSG builds can generate 36 RPM on a 7.4, where if I put in an 11.1 light boat, it's 54k RPM. So it is absolutely wild, the rates of fire that can be achieved with that there. It's absolutely unnecessary and pointless to do, but there is an argument for upgrading the brushless. If you're not really wanting to install MOSFETs or ETUs, you can achieve an excellent rate of fire, good snappy trigger, and you can get far higher efficiency for your batteries, as well as the fact that there's a lot less heat buildup in it. But they are extremely expensive. You can get a brushless motor from anywhere between 70 to 150 to 200 pound, depending on how much you wish to spend on it. I believe Gate released their own series that's like 230 or something like that. So with that, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video talking about the basics of motors and the types of motors. So with that, thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe, and if you haven't, please do come join us on Discord. The Discord is getting to be good crack. Everyone's slowly talking. We're hoping to get 50 members in it by the end of the year. We're nearly at that goal, so please do come join. And if you do as well see me in person at the site and all, please do ask for a channel badge. I still have like 20 of them left. So free patch from Northern Ireland. If you're over and you are playing, please do feel free to ask. So with that, everyone, thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I shall see you all later.